What's up, everybody? I'm back up here in the gear loft, and today we're going to talk about something I've been wanting to do a video on for several months now. We're going to talk about my drone, the DJI Spark. Now, this video is going to be about this drone purely in the context of backpacking and hiking. There are tons of great professionally made YouTube videos about this drone, going through everything, every detail, every feature, every spec, and I'm going to go through some stuff, but I'm keeping this video purely about using this thing and taking it backpacking and hiking, because that's where this drone shines. So we're going to go through some tech specs. I'll show you a bunch of stuff. I'll go through how I've used it backpacking and its pros and cons as a backpacking drone, and I'll smatter in a bunch of cool drone footage and show you guys you get some really sweet shots. And drone technology now, this thing just came out a couple months ago. I got it in August. I think it came out in May or June. And it's just so lightweight, and we've taken it with us on several trips, and we've taken it hiking, and it's awesome. So let's get started. So here is the setup as I take it backpacking with me, and we're going to go through all this. So you've got a simple USB cable, any kind of work, an external battery, we'll get into that, the controller for the drone, and we'll get into this because you don't actually need it if you don't want to take it, and then the drone itself. So, and it comes with this really nice styrofoam case. So just the drone with one battery right here comes in at 500 bucks. So this is not, as my wife jokes when I say this, but this is not a toy. This is legitimately a sophisticated piece of aircraft engineering. I mean, it's amazing what these things can do. Full weight with just the drone and the battery, what they call their takeoff weight, is 300 grams. And I'll flash all the weights of this entire setup up at the top of the screen. The drone comes in several different colors. Here's the gimbal. It shoots 1080p, 30 frames per second, and will take 12 megapixel pictures, and it'll do panorama mode. It'll do tons of different modes. It's a 2-axis gimbal, so not a 3-axis like a lot of drones. It's got object avoidance sensors in the front and on the bottom, and it doesn't fold or anything, and it's super small. You can see it's effectively the size of my palm, and it's so freaking small, and it comes with this really nice styrofoam carrying case. So I'll throw the weight of this whole setup up there. It's around 2 pounds, which I think is great. So the drone itself is $500. Now, this drone is capable of being used with just a phone. This is a Samsung S7. You can fire it up, use your thumbs as joysticks, and just use the drone like that. I've done it once. I opted for an extra $200 to get what they call the Fly More combo, which brings into play the controller and another battery, and then I got another battery as well. So these batteries they're 1500 milliamp hour batteries. Each battery, they say you get about 15 to 16 minutes of flight time, which you will get, but you really get about 12 to 13 minutes of usable quote-unquote flight time, because at least a minute or two is going to be spent taking the thing off, getting it to where you want to go, and then a minute or two is going to be spent bringing it back home. So the max speed is 31 miles an hour, which is super fast, and you can only use that top speed if you use the controller in what they call sport mode. So you can flip this thing to the right like that, and it takes off all object avoidance sensors, and you can rip the thing, and it goes 30 miles an hour. It's super fast. It's got a max ceiling of 13,000 feet, which is hilarious because you're never going to take this thing above like maybe 400 or 500 feet. And make sure you check your FAA regulations on where you live, because you'll have different ceilings depending on how close to airports you are. It has multiple still photography modes. It's got burst shooting. It's got panorama. It does auto exposure. It's really a sophisticated camera. Now, if you're just using the phone to control it, you're only going to get a couple 100 feet of range because it's going to use your phone's Wi-Fi signal to connect to the drone. Now, if you use the controller, you get a range of about a mile, which is amazing. I have never taken it out that far. I'm way too scared to do it, even though I've never had any issues with it. And I'll tell you, because I live in the city, you'll get a lot of electromagnetic interference from power lines, stuff like that. But when you take it out backpacking, you get none of that. So I'll easily take this thing out several thousand feet from me with a super strong signal, and it streams 720p to your phone while you're flying it. And then it saves 1080p to the SD card in the drone. And it comes with a 16 gig SD card, which is about an hour, hour 30, hour 15 of footage. So it's perfect amount of footage. And the SD card just sits in the back right behind this thing right here. So the SD card's just right there. One of the reasons I got this drone specifically, because you can look at their other drones, they're more expensive, but they're only slightly bigger, is this drone is one of the, I think the only one I've found, you have the ability to charge this thing through a USB power pack. And it takes a while, and this is a 20,000 milliamp hour pack. It's way overkill, but it has a faster rate of charging output. And you can charge one of these batteries in like an hour, hour and a half, which is kind of slow, but when you're backpacking, you can just set up a camp and charge it, and it's fine. Now, with this thing will fill up about 6 or 7 batteries. So this thing alone, so let's say you go out hiking with two batteries, so plus the 6 you can charge, that's 10 batteries worth of juice. That's, 2 hours of flight time, which is more than you're gonna need. Also take into consideration, this thing needs charge too via USB. This is a 3,000 milliamp hour battery in here, but one full charge in this thing will get you about 6 to 7 flights. So it's pretty good. So all in all, if you have an external battery pack, a couple batteries, you don't need 3, 2 is fine. Even 1 might be okay. If you have 2,000 milliamps, all this stuff, you're gonna be 2.5 pounds, and you're gonna get about 2 hours of drone time. All in a package that's about 7 inches by 6 inches. Comes in a really durable styrofoam case and fits in my pack fine. I took this to Laurel Highlands. I've taken this on other trips. It really is compact. I don't include my phone in the weight of this because I bring my phone anyway, and I technically probably could get away with not including this in the weight too, because I'm going to bring this anyway. Maybe not 20,000, maybe a 10,000. So I mean, the drone itself is 300 grams. It's like half a pound. It's amazing. So that was just a quick and dirty overview of the specs, some nuances about the flight time, how I carry it out with me. So I pack it in this case, just like this, and that goes in a Ziploc bag with a desiccant pack, and then I'm packing my phone separately and my battery pack separately. That goes in my electronics bag, and then I'll just throw the controller, just folds up just like that, and I'll put that in my electronics bag too. So let's talk about flying this thing, right? That's the fun part about it. I've been very impressed with the reliability of this drone in particular, and DJI, which is the company that makes this drone, has a really good reputation for being rock solid. That's why they're so freaking expensive. The thing's got full GPS sensors, so I have my phone on airplane mode when we're hiking, and because we don't get cell service, but it still does GPS fine. When you start flying, it'll mark the spot you are, and if it ever loses connection or if it ever gets in any trouble, it'll return at a set altitude right to where you are. So what I'll do is I'll fly it up, I'll get a feel for using the drone, how high the trees are, and then I'll set my return to home altitude just above the tree. So if I do lose it somewhere, it'll just zip up to a set altitude and come right back to me. Another thing about these is they are loud. It's loud. I wasn't kidding. It's super loud. And this is a small one. The ones that are bigger are way louder, so just be wary of that. Don't bother people with them. Don't bother wildlife. So another cool thing about this drone and what DJI does in particular is it's got several what they call intelligent flight modes, where you can pre-program it to move in certain ways around you. So you can have it follow you, an active track, and you don't even have to have your phone. It'll pick you up visually and follow you. So you can use that to follow you while you're hiking. You can double that with a circular helix mode while it follows you. So it'll follow you and shoot around you as it's following you, which is really cool. It also has set camera modes, so you can have it like start filming you and like fly off into the distance. That's called a droney. There's a droney, there's a helix where it'll start and do kind of a corkscrew motion while it films away from you. All of these shots can really be used in the woods. Very cool. The only thing you got to worry about is just the trees. So there's also what they call tripod mode, which will slow everything down. So it'll take the maximum speed to like 1 or 2 miles an hour, so you can get these really slow, smooth, cinematic shots. There's also a mode called tap fly, where you're looking at your screen and you can just tap on the screen and the drone will go there. The cool thing about this is it does have object avoidance sensors. So it will not, you can't even do it, and if you turn it off you can, but you cannot even fly this thing into a wall if you wanted to. And it does a really good job of picking up trees and stuff. So let's say you send it out there, you're doing some stuff, and when you're out in the woods, because there's not a lot of interference from the city, you can take this thing several thousand feet away from you and 500 feet high, and you have a rock solid signal with this. So I've probably done 30 or 40 flights with this thing. I've lost connection with it once when I was flying by an electrical power substation, go figure, and immediately the drone will just come right back to you at a set altitude. So I've had really good success with it. I still am just scared because of how expensive it is. Aside from those cool cinematic shots, it's just a fun thing to have. It's fun to fly around at camp. It's fun to take it up and out and check out the various scenery, and it's really cool, and it's something I'm gonna bring on more trips. I wouldn't bring it on a 7-day trip. I probably wouldn't even bring it on like a 3 or 4 day trip, but a 1 or 2 nighter, absolutely, this thing's coming. So we've talked kind of about the pros of this drone in terms of a backpacking sense. It's compact, it's reliable, it's got GPS, you can charge it from an external power bank, and it's just, they made this with people who travel, people who hike, adventure sports people. They made this drone with those people in mind. So let's talk about some negatives. The first obvious negative is the price. Now, you don't need to buy this. You can use your phone, and that would even cut some weight down. You could use your phone, you could just have it go a couple 100 feet away from you and just get some cool shots. You could. And then it'd be $500. And for $500, that's a good deal for a drone with a gimbal that shoots full HD, and that's pretty reliable. But if you're like me, get the Fly More combo. That's what this is called. Everyone who has had this drone that I've ever known of gets this thing, because it's worth it to have 10 times the range. You get much better like tactileness with controlling it. So that's $700. That's expensive. So the biggest con is the expense, to be honest with you. That's the only thing I can think of. Otherwise, I've had great success using my phone with this. Like I said, I've lost connection with it once because I was flying by an electrical substation, and I know that's why. The nice thing about when you're backpacking or hiking or somewhere that's far off, you'll take this thing 3,000-4,000 feet away from you with no signal interruptions, because there's nothing around there that'll break the connection. So lastly, I just want to talk about be a responsible drone pilot. Drones get a bad rap, and some of it's warranted. Be responsible when you use this thing. They're banned in national parks. Don't disturb wildlife with them. Don't disturb other people camping because they're loud. Take it, use it when you're away from people and you want to just get some great views, or you want to have it follow you hiking or follow you from above or get some cool pictures, some panoramas, definitely use it. But be a responsible drone pilot, because there are some very irresponsible drone pilots. That's it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed this kind of review of the DJI Spark in a backpacking sense.